to Cameron. Cameron Snyder has been in the kitchen and bath business for more than 30 years and is founder and president of Kitchen Concepts, Inc., where he's earned a reputation for his superior design expertise and excellent customer service. He recently renamed his company Roomscapes Luxury Design Center and opened a state-of-the-art showroom in Rockland, Mass. A certified kitchen designer, he's the first place winner in the 2009 National Kitchen and Bath Association Design Competition and has had his work published in prominent magazines and newspapers such as The Globe and Gourmet Magazine. He's past president of the National Kitchen and Bath Association, frequent contributor to various trade magazines, and participates in key manufacturers' focus groups and expert panels. He's also been an instructor at the Boston Architecture College for the last 3 years.
Thank you very much. I'm going to get a little bit more specific. We've kind of looked at housing and design and things in a little bit of a broad stroke. Generally, by the time the client gets to me, we're dealing with more details. Oftentimes, my client base is either directly with the client, which is about 25% where the client will come to us, or more and more we're actually brought in from an architect or an interior designer as the kitchen expert. So by the time we're brought in, the overall master plan is done. The challenges that we find as kitchen designers is we have clients that have expectations. I mean, they come in with pictures and magazines of kitchens that they love. They look at HGTV and they see these wonderful kitchens. Unfortunately, none of the magazines or none of the TV programs ever put a price tag on it. So we start with a client who has an expectation that may be here, but a budget that may be here. So that, in our opinion, is the perfect time and the perfect place where long-term planning becomes important. Because certainly, you know, we go to a lot of functions, my wife and I, and parties, as we all do, and everybody congregates where? In the kitchen. So you certainly don't want to skimp on the kitchen because you don't maybe have the funds at the moment to do it, especially again in this economy. So we have to approach the project long term. We want to design the kitchen that is best suited for that client when it's done, but oftentimes we have to layer it a bit. So when we approach a project, we actually look at the budget in particular in 4 different parts. One would be the appliances, which more and more becomes a major cost consideration. Construction, which may be part of the project but may not. If it's a new home, it may be part of the building process. Cabinets certainly, and countertops. Those are the 4 major cost considerations when looking at a kitchen project. And in my opinion, the first thing you want to look at and get out of the way is your appliances, because the appliances basically set the tone for everything else. You don't want to invest in lower-end appliances or try to save money and then later on find out you have to change those appliances and then start modifying wiring and cabinetry. So our recommendation is you invest in high-end appliances or whatever appliances you're going to do first. I'll give you a perfect example. We have a client now, we're working with an architect, and they have an old Garland range. I don't know if anybody's familiar with them, but they're commercial. But they are not what's considered zero clearance, which means you can't put cabinetry up against them. You have to leave space around them. Well, the client is hemming and hawing whether they use the Garland or they go to a brand new range. Nothing else can be done until that decision is made. So certainly we think that the appliances is where you begin. There's a handout that you all have if you care to take a look at it. And what we've done is just kind of given an idea of how you can take a final project with a major overall final goal of what you're trying to do and layer it in so that you can kind of spread that cost out a little bit over time. The exterior picture is the finished project, which is the goal. And then if you just take a quick peek, as you open it up, you'll see a beginning floor plan. So as you look at the elevations on the 3rd page, obviously you need cabinetry and you have to have a place to put stuff. So we start in a project like this, if we have to layer it, with the basic function of the kitchen. It has to be able to function correctly. It has to be able to handle and maintain the family and the cook. And if there's multiple cooks, you have to have multiple cooking areas. So the first plan is basically where you can have a kitchen that functions, it looks beautiful, you can do a wonderful job of paint. And as my colleague next to me said, it has the bones to it. If you look at the next page, what we did is the same plan. We added a message center, which you'll see to the left. We added some columns and pullouts on either side of the refrigerator to give it a furniture look. And then we simply added some molding details, an island, and then we added some interior storage features. So this could be done a year later, it could be done 2 years later. On the third page, on the final page, we added tile. We added a built-in eating area with oaken shelves and some china area. We added more detail moldings to it. We added decorative hoods. We added more paint, like a faux paint. So you can take a project like this, a kitchen project in particular, because that's what I'm talking about, and as long as you know what the end goal is of that project, you can phase that project in if you need to. Now let me say that long term, it's probably the end result will cost a little bit more doing it that way than if you did it all at once, because there certainly is some what's the word I want to use? Scale.
Economy of scale.
Economy of scale, thank you very much, when you're doing it all at once. But again, the goal is to think it through with your architect, with your interior designer, and with the kitchen designer to make sure that it functions correctly, and then if you need to, and there's often times we find that it's not even a cost factor. There are times when a client would say, you know what, I'm not exactly sure if I want a sit-down desk or if I want a message center where I'm simply going to put the family calendar. Well, my recommendation often is don't put it in. Leave it off. Let's plan for the space. And then when you've lived in that space for a little bit, and as you see how, especially if it's a young family, as your family matures, you will grow into knowing what that space should be. And then a year from now, 6 months from now, whatever, we can go back and design that space and put it in that's appropriate to your family and your lifestyle. So, but having the long-term plan first, and again, and getting that design team together in the beginning is, to me, the most crucial. That was my time.
It wasn't your time that was wonderful, it was what you said.